Made in Colombia? This is not exactly the country that knows about high technological development, complex systems, and famous programmers born in its territory. We have no idea that AAA video games are being developed in Colombia and sold very well on the outside. It is rather the foreign who are very interested in the digital talent that comes from Colombian programmers stuck on their cell phones or console while playing with content developed here. Video games don't show any Colombian emblem, and the developers don't want to tie themselves to the Colombian market with games that seem to be too national. Colombians have had access to the latest games and consoles almost as they appeared in the US market, giving the young enthusiasts the right motivation and role models to push their efforts. These young developers later became the pioneers of an entertainment industry that, although still considered to be in its early stage, is continually learning, growing, and becoming established, and is on its way to achieving international acknowledgement. The beginnings of the video game industry in Colombia are linked to the curiosity of college students and their research groups. Such is the case of Eibar Arlex Rojas, founder of Efecto Studios, who along with Jesus Cardona created a research group in 2000 at the University Autónoma de Cali. Then Immersion developed a small set of 6 levels called Cell Factor Revolution 2007, which can be considered the first representative of the emerging video game industry in Colombia. Once internationally recognized, Immersion had the opportunity to develop a game for Xbox 360 and PS3. In 2010 was a restructuring of Immersion Games and the creation what today is known as Efecto Studios, a video game developer for third parties. The Latin American market is impossible to monetize, and you can make a game that is specifically designed for this audience. That is what Eibar Rojas says. Among his most recognized video games, we have Chavo Card and Gravity. Chavo Card born as a result of the joint work between Efecto Studios and Televisa. The game had been well received in Mexico and in several Latin America countries. On the other hand, Gravity is a mobile game which received the award for the best video game in Barcelona. The Mobile Premier Awards, it's something like the most important application fair in the world. There are 3 awards, one for the best application of the year, another who choose the best game of the year according to the organizers, and other who choose the best game of the year according to the public. This one was precisely what Gravity won. Nowadays, Efecto Studio is the most representative video game developer in the country, having worked recently in Ark Survival. Obviously, there are many other great developers also recognized internationally. One of those big developers is Below the Game. Carlos Rocha, founder, executive director, and designer of Below the Game, with Nitai Uribe, co-founder of the company, decided to start this adventure in the video game industry in development set at the University Autónoma de Bucaramanga for poor patient for the pleasure of learning. Below the Game's portfolio includes more than 30 video games created in a corporative and advertising ways for training and entertainment, including Story Warriors, Fairy Tales. Today, the company, which is part of the incubation program of Sony PlayStation for Latin America, offers originality, dedication, and design as its pillars of development and platforms.
puzzles and adventure games of their own or for corporate clients. Other developers that we have to take into account are NDA TerraVision. TerraVision Games was founded by Enrique Fuentes in 2005 in Venezuela, where it quickly became one of the main developers of entertainment companies such as Disney and Nickelodeon in Latin America, later creating products for video game companies including Atari and Namco as well. In 2010, TerraVision Games moved its operation to Bogota, Colombia, and in 2012, a joint venture with the Canadian company NDA Media took place. Currently, both companies operate under the name NDA TerraVision. The company currently focuses on creating mobile and web games with an emphasis on the development of character-based intellectual properties, as it is also an interactive partner for entertainment companies such as Breakthrough, PBS, and Nickelodeon. C2 Game Studio. C2 Game Studio began operation in 2008, providing simulation service, entertainment, advert games, serious games, and motion capture. From 2008 to 2011, the studio performed work for some of the largest companies in Medellín, Colombia, including EPM, Nutresa, ISA, El Condor, and Sena, always with the illusion of making games, but waiting for the right time to bet on this industry. In 2011, a strategy shift took place as the company decided to produce and market its own games. The first commercial games for 2C Studios was Cowboy Guns. It was rated the best iPad game in its launch week and won a National Design Award, Lápiz de Acero. In 2012, the game Nitro Chim was released, which received good reviews and was a finalist for several awards, including App Circus and Lápiz de Acero. Both games were published by Chilingo. Flaming Lab. On August 1, 2010, Flaming Lab came to life with just two members, a programmer and a designer, Germán Vallejo and Felipe Rodríguez. After creating the company web page and its first Unity engine game about a character that had to catch a small flame that appeared randomly in a space, Flaming Lab was officially launched on October 3 of 2010. In order to get involved in the iOS market, in November of 2011, Flaming Lab launched Map Trap, its first video game for the iPad. Since then, Flaming Lab's main goal has been to create video games and mobile apps, and so in March of 2012, it launched Ranch and Roll, its second game for iOS, which is available for iPad and iPhone. Press Start Studios. Created in 2011 by Luis Ernesto Parra, Yvonne Tovar, and René Serrato, initially focused on casual games for Facebook, publishing 4 titles and reaching over 200,000 players in more than 50 countries. In 2012, the company focused to the mobile gaming market with a project called Drive Me Bananas. These are only a few examples of video game developers in Colombia. And what we have to keep in mind is that the video game industry in Colombia so far is beginning, and the evidence of progress over the years are the hard work of these and many other developers who are leaving the name of Colombia in hide on the outside.
Searching for the origins of this industry, we should pause the story in order to mention the case of Carlos Anzola, an engineer who in the 1980s began programming small video games on the Commodore 64, but made his real contribution in the area of hardware, with his creation of the HIED in 2007. His vision was of a system ahead of its time, a gesture-based interface that recognized body movements without the need for a physical handle control. This new system was named Human Interface Electronic Device, which can be considered a predecessor of the future Project Natal or Microsoft Kinect. Government support for the development of the game industry have been viewed positively by members of the gaming community. However, it's important to note that this is an accompaniment to various initiatives in many areas, specifically public relations and creating events, contests, and other activities. Thus, this kind of support is invaluable to the growth of the game industry in Colombia, according to Jairo Nieto of Brain Games, the developer of successful games such as Vampire Season 2012. The year 2006 saw Loop, the first festival of animation and video games organized by Oscar Andrade, who is a self-described game programmer by hobby and filmmaker by profession. This popular festival was one of the first entertainment media events that allowed the sharing of experience through the showcasing of products and developments. The Colombian game industry received a boost in 2009 thanks to the roundtable discussion of the Telecommunication Research Center, CINTEL, a center of technological development in information technology, ICT. From the perspective of Jairo Nieto of Brain Games, the video game industry really began to evolve when companies such as Apple and Google opened their mobile platforms to independent developers, giving them the opportunity to work without a publisher, allowing Colombian developers to display their software directly to the world. As for the president of the Association of Developers in our country, it's important to highlight three guilds that have facilitated the strengthening and dissemination of the Colombian industry nationally and internationally. Somos, the Game Developers Association in Colombia, IGDI, and the Global Game Designers Guild GGDG. Somos is a creative industries and digital content guild formed in 2009 to establish connection with the government, education, and business sector. It was founded by leaders of companies including Jaguar Chaler Digital, Creative Connection, Caterpillar, CEO Studios, and Nazca Digital. Somos is also in the process of strengthening the industry and has participated in the creation of the Coalition of Creative Industries and Content and other activities to promote the development of the industry. As of October 2013, Somos had 30 affiliate companies, 6 chapters, and has continued to strengthen its regional presence along with the industry. IGDI Colombia, the Game Developers Association in Colombia, is a well-known non-profit association established in 2010 through the joint effort of several companies, among which stand out Brains, XOR, Colombia Games, Immersion Games, and NDI TerraVision. IGDI Colombia brings together developers, academia, and government office around the topic of video games and their applications. The Global Game Designers Guild was created in 2012 by entrepreneurs Luz Ernesto Parra, Yvonne Marcela Tovar, and René Serrato, from the vibrant company Press Star Studios. The goal of the guild is to discuss, learn, connect, and report on issues related to game design and the game industry in general. They also use social networks to broadcast specialized information about video games, specifically about the design process. This is coupled with an interest in promoting business opportunities for current and future gaming studios and startups. GGDG also have various chapters in different regions of Colombia, including Bogotá, Medellín, Cali, Bucaramanga, and Barranquilla, and international chapters in Mexico, Australia, and France. Since 2009, this measure of internationalization of the Colombia video games industry have been supported by ProExport Colombia, a government entity, and in January 2012, the Ministry of Information Technologies and Communication of Colombia included the sector in the Vive Digital Plan ProExport 2013, which seek to improve infrastructure. Finally, it can be said that the industry progress had made it possible to create different dynamics of interaction between video game development companies and various government agencies, resulting in sustained growth.